but there's so much.
In fact, we'll also be collaborating with them this summer for DebateCon 8. That's in July in Dallas.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I was muted. Well, pretty much I wanted to do this debate on Uncensored America, and it's between, well, Andrew Wilson versus Owen Shroyer. You know, if you know, come on now. Everybody on the left and the right know Andrew Wilson. If you're on the left, you hate him, or if you're on the right, you love him. Everybody know, well, do everybody know who Owen Shroyer is? You know, the guy that used to be on InfoWars, you know, got kicked off for pretty much talking bad about Trump too much. So Alex said, you got to get up out of here. Yeah, that guy. So, and they're debating, has the Trump presidency been a success? And these are both conservative. So this should be a pretty interesting debate and fair-minded.
That will feature 2 days of debates, including headline debates with Andrew Wilson and Rachel Wilson. If you're watching online, check out the link in the description box. Grab your tickets as we expect it to sell out. With that,
I'd say Owen Shroyer. Owen Shroyer. Somebody said Owen Shroyer. My bad, bro. Owen.
As you know, I am very excited to get into this. Tonight's topic is, has Trump's presidency been successful?
Skip through some of this.
We do anything else, we got the legend Owen.
Damn sound. Wait, y'all hear it? Or is it me or does the sound just go off? Hold on. Yeah, I'm tripping. The sound did go off.
We will be introducing the negative position for tonight's debate.
You turned off the music, James.
He is best known as a bold and outspoken political commentator, recognized for his energetic presence and his coverage of current events across major platforms. He has been a prominent voice with InfoWars and continues to engage millions through his independent content and reporting. Please join me in welcoming Owen Shroyer. For tonight's format, we will have 5-minute openings followed by 5-minute rebuttals, a crossfire section of 40 minutes followed by audience Q&A for 30 minutes, and then 3-minute closings. With that, I have the timer set for you. The affirmative going first. Andrew, the floor is all yours.
First and foremost, thanks all of you for being here. And before we do anything else, we got the legend Owen Shroyer. Can we give him a good round of applause? That said, you're still going to get stomped. So, first and foremost, let me clear up any misrepresentation when it comes to my views. I am anti-Zionist and anti-Christian Zionist especially. I have done many debates on the topic, and I've won them all. I'm also very anti-Islam and consider the ideology just as poisonous as the ideology of Zionism, especially Christian Zionism. I am not a war supporter in Iran, and I never have been. I say this at the beginning of the debate, so when bad faith trolls who are on foreign accounts try to influence American politics in the comments, claiming that I'm in some way a Zionist, pro-Israel, pro-Islam shill, you can shatter the lies by simply showing them the beginning of this debate, which they won't even watch. And you and I can laugh at their stupidity together. That said, I also don't believe Jews or Arabs are ontologically evil just because they are Jewish or Arabic. I represent a worldview, and I believe there are stupid and evil ideologies in this world, and those are the things I debate against and resist on a political level. Today, we debate if Trump has been successful as a president. Usually, I would clear this up semantically and quickly with Owen, but we seem to have the same general notion about what success means and doesn't mean, so we will just get right to the heart of the debate. I'd like to begin by pointing out that Trump stopping two different left-wing women from becoming president and being the first president who is a woman should immediately default him to the position of a successful president, as just that alone saved the nation from years of torment and suffering from the most insufferable vocal fried women the world has ever seen. That alone, I feel like, wins me the debate, but there's so much more. Starting on the pro-Christian side, Office of Faith, though I don't like who's in it, I like there's an office for it. Affirm via executive order there are two genders and revoke the idea of gender being different from sex. He signed an executive order stopping transsurgical chemical alterations of children. He made Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas federal holidays, affirming Christian beliefs as the ones we celebrate. He signed an executive order to eradicate anti-Christian bias in the government. He expanded school choice via executive order so we could remove our children from indoctrination center of atheists. He signed an executive order expanding Christian participation in adoption. He reinstated the Mexico City policy blocking U.S. tax dollars from promoting abortions in other nations. He enforced the Hyde Amendment to stop federal funding of abortions. He strengthened the conscientious protection for doctors and nurses who are against abortion. He supported religious charter schools. He directed the State Department to prioritize against Christian persecution abroad, just to name some of his policy directives. And that's just the Christian side. Domestically, his most major victory is something incredible. Net migration negative, more immigration.
Hold on now. I ain't gonna lie. When it comes to the whole trans and kids thing, Donald Trump kind of conceded on that. He conceded by pretty much saying, yeah, the parents can trans their kids or kids can be trans as long as their parents have permission. I'm gonna be real with you. They were already doing that. So he didn't really do anything for the transing of kids or stop the transing of kids. Their crazy liberal parents can still do so. Sadly.
Leaving than coming, both legal and illegal, which was his primary function in office from the standpoint of voters. And this is one of the few Western nations where that is the case currently, with limited exceptions. The Cato Institute, very pro-immigration, had to admit themselves that Trump has limited legal immigration even more than illegal immigration, negating the base fear from his own base that he would stop illegal immigration, ramp up legal immigration. He hasn't. Over 130,000 less per month just on the legal side. Real wage growth.
Oh, guys, like, remember, he tweeted out on Truth Social. He pretty much said, look, no transing kids unless with parents' permission. Like, do I really need to bring that up for you guys? Because he did say that.
Is up 1.3% under Trump. It was negative under Biden. The federal workforce down 10%, which is excellent. Crime is down across the nation. Even Owen agrees with that. The Overton window has shifted right on most national conversations, including LGBTQ and transgender ideology. This isn't even getting into the historic court cases like Roe v. Wade and Chevron, which undid huge injustices in the United States. These are just some of Trump's accomplishments among many. I just can't list them all due to time. The idea of Owen Shroyer and many other anti-Trump right-wingers is accelerationism. The glaring logical hole, of course, in that is all that happens is Democrats get power, make life worse for everybody, and then they just run back to Republicans to fix everything.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. You guys are kind of creating a scenario where we can't hold Republicans accountable. You're just going to say, what are you going to do? Vote Democrat? Well, that's the thing. That's kind of like a manipulation tactic, because you're pretty much saying that, well, you're going to accept what we do because the other options is so much worse. So that means we can't hold y'all accountable because you're just going to say, well, what are you going to do? Vote Democrat? I mean, if y'all coming at us like that, you're going to make people vote Democrat just to rebel against y'all arrogance.
Democrats did, and the entire time is spent by Republicans cleaning up the mess that Democrats and leftists left for us. It doesn't work and can't work in a two-party system. Ensuring Democrat control by denouncing Trump and Republicans just assures a packed Supreme Court, outrageous censorship, mass migration, expansion of gay agenda, feminism, and the movement of an anti-Christian and anti-Christ-driven world. You guys seem to forget we had Biden. It was awful. And rather than continue his policies, people elected Trump en masse because life under Democrats is fucking awful. Now, you aren't going to get everything you want out of any administration. Trump is way too pro-feminist, pro-gay, and pro-Zionist for my personal liking, but we all knew that going in. He was still vastly superior to the alternative to Democrats and their cohorts, especially Harris, who wanted to roll back tax breaks
30 seconds.
and tax as an offset instead of tariffs, which is Democrat policy as usual. We knew Trump was pro-Israel. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem and tore up the Iran deal the first time around. We knew this was part of what we were getting when we elected him, including Owen Shroyer.
Hey, yo, that's hilarious. He says we knew Trump was pro-Israel for ripping up the Iran deal, pretty much stating that, yeah, that Iran deal was the best way to contain Iran's nuclear capabilities. And he's pretty much, even Andrew Wilson is admitting that that was a pro-Israel move.
Who, by the way, was put in solitary confinement by Democrats and held, in my opinion, as a political prisoner. That's what's in store for us under Democrats. I will cede no ground to Democrats under any circumstances, as there's no alternative. There's nothing. You cannot give Democrats power period. And with that, I'll cede the rest of my time, but just note that progressive ideology is always waiting to strike, and going against Trump is not going to help against that fight.
Thank you very much for that opening. We'll kick it over to Owen for his opening as well.
Well, the premise of this debate is, has President Trump been successful or not? The premise is not, are the Democrats a bad political party? I think that we all agree with that. So that is not the premise of the debate. And I feel that the very fact that we are having this debate shows that there is at least room for consideration that the Trump administration has not been successful. And while you do list off things that Trump has been successful on, and I will give credit to this administration on securing the border and lowering crime rates, quickly on those issues, though, these are not things that we should have to beg for. These are not things that we should have to consider a success. These should be things that are considered a standard. So really, that's more of a story of how corrupt our country has become, which gets to what this administration was supposed to be all about. It was supposed to be addressing the corruption head on.
And I want to speak to what he said, bro. It should be a standard. Like, it should be the standard that Donald Trump is supposed to be lowering inflation, supposed to be lowering prices. That's the standard because we voted for that. Not when it goes in the opposite direction, you guys forget about the standard and you hit us with the "but Biden." Like, no, cut the "but Biden." Trump is not performing at the standard that we voted him in for.
In that collision and destroying it in the process. And I think it's fair to say that at least to this point, it's not happening. But here's some of the other issues that I think are going to be more important when it comes to, is Trump going to be successful? The economy. The vast majority of Americans still believe the economy is heading in the wrong direction. We have more Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck today than any other time in recent history. And as everybody is well aware, our national debt continues to go to record highs. But it's not just the country that's in debt. The average citizen is in debt. It's so bad now that people are having to take out payment plans for pizza delivery. Now, you might not want to blame all of that on President Trump, and perhaps that's fair, but yet this is the economy ongoing under President Trump. And it doesn't help when anytime there's another war on the other side of the planet, we have billions of dollars to spend on that while the average American continues to struggle. So the economy, I don't think you can claim has been a success. Tied into that is Doge.
I mean, yeah, you can't say the economy has been a success when unaffordability is still at an all-time high. Like, I'm glad that you got companies making profits, and that leads to a good stock market. Great. But the stock market does not reflect the affordability of your everyday American, like, at all. So when you guys sit there and point at the Dow like you, Pam Bonnie, talk about it's over 50,000. I mean, bro, average Americans are looking at you like, bro, I'm still 50,000 in debt. So excuse me for not looking at that as a win. That's just how your average American's thinking about this.
Doge cuts. Elon Musk believed we could get $1 trillion in Doge cuts annually. We got a couple 10 million, and they stopped that. There's not going to be any Doge stimulus checks, whether you wanted that or not. So Doge getting cut out cold, I think, was a major failure. Barack Obama has deported more Americans than Donald Trump. Now, we might get into the details of that today. I will spare those details for the opening. I'm sure that this will come back up, but yet that fact remains. What about the deep state? President Trump himself has posted about treasonous politicians more times than we can count. So if there's politicians that are treasonous and you are the president, then I have to ask, where are the arrests? That's kind of the biggest crime you can commit in this country, and yet nobody has been.
I don't know. I don't think it's fair to compare, Obama's numbers of 3 million deportations to Trump's 600,000 deportations. And then is it fair if we add the self-deportations as well? Because that's like about 1.2 million. Or let's just be fair. Let's just say over 1 million undocumented immigrants have self-deported, and we have over 600,000 that were, forcefully deported. Those are the numbers right now. So I don't know. Is it really fair to sit there and say that, oh, Trump's not doing as well as Obama and it's only his first year? And if we add both of those two together at 1.6 million already, but if we take that away, if we take away the self-deportations away, we're only at 600,000. I don't know. I'd have to ask you guys that one. How do y'all feel about that?
Arrested. Don't even get me started on the Epstein clients, which are apparently a hoax one day And then the next day, Melania Trump is addressing the nation on how the victims of the hoax need to speak to Congress. So I'm not sure where we want to go with that. But either way, no deep state arrests. Where are all the Epstein pedophile arrests? We're not getting those. These are things that people anticipated, and yet there's no success there either. And by the way, as you mentioned, Trump's victory over the liberal women, which I think we'll all agree was a major victory, he was not the president when that happened. He's never won an election as president. Just thought I'd point that out. As far as the office of faith is concerned, it seems to be going about the same way of the Board of Peace. Nothing but vanity, no real results.
Facts.
You talk about the anti-Christian bias that they're fighting, yet look at
And the whole
who,
Department of
Trump is
Faith.
working with.
That was pretty damn controversial because separation of church and state. And if you're going to have a Department of Faith, then I would like for you to have a representative for all faiths in America, all major faiths in America. But you're not willing to do that. Yeah, I just want to put a whole bunch of Christian and Christian Zionists in there and then think it's supposed to be the Department of Faith, as if the only faith in America is the Christian faith, when that's not true. If you're going to have a true Department of Faith, I'm sorry, but you're going to need to put some Christians up there of every denomination of the three major ones. And then you're going to have to put some Muslim. You're going to have to put a Muslim up there. And then you're going to have to put a Hindu up there as well. And maybe a couple and a pagan as well, guys, because that is the consistency of or that's the religious consistency of our nation.
Now he's making sure that Karine
And
Jean
some
Bowler,
Jews, some Jews got to be there too.
Bowler
Sorry
kicked
about
off
that. You gotta have a
of
couple
the
Jews in
Religious
there.
Liberties Commission for her political takes. Yet Laura Loomer, who is a vehement anti-Muslim, anti-Catholic psychotic,
True.
somehow has the ear of President Trump. So I'm not sure if that's really working for the anti-Christian. You know, wage growth, that's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure we're going to get more into that. But I think it goes back to the general economic picture that whether it's Trump or anybody else, Americans are still struggling. And I think if we be honest here, if we're going to be honest, a lot of this economy is actually Trump's fault. And I know he likes to blame it on Biden, but if you go back and look at it, it was the COVID economy that caused the permanent damage. It was the COVID economy that resulted in 10 to 15 to 20% inflation. Those are Trump's policies. Now, Biden was obviously a disaster. I'm not here to promote anything Biden did, but that was the Trump economy. The COVID economy is the Trump economy. Now, as far as
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. My argument to that would be, okay, you say that, but due to the fact that Biden did all of that reckless spending, we'll never know, because he put that on top of Trump's reckless spending, and it got up to that 9% inflation. I mean, if he'd have left it alone, the inflation probably wouldn't have been that bad. So to say 10 to 15%, it would have been, while Biden added that on top of it, just saying that was Trump alone is is unfair to say. Because with Biden's reckless spending as well, added with Trump, we got about as high as 10% inflation. So you just can't sit there and say, oh, that's Trump's economy, because Biden added on top of that. If Biden wasn't to add on top of that and let the inflation rock, we'd be able to sit there and be like, okay, well, Biden didn't do any real extra spending, and it was Trump spending that caused this. And then we could sit there and have that point and be right about it. But I think he's being a bit unfair.
accelerationism is concerned, I don't believe I have ever publicly supported that. I do understand the concept. I understand why people like it. I'm not here because I want Democrats to win. And I think this is a very important statement for me to make, because much like in your opening statement, you wanted to clarify some things that people get wrong about you. I want to clarify this. I do not want Democrats to win. As has already been documented in this debate, Democrats have put me in prison. In fact, I was put in jail 4 times for supporting President Trump, including the last one when I was put in solitary confinement. So believe me, I know how dangerous the Democrats are. The problem is, it's not up to me. This is Trump. If Trump cannot get the Republicans over the finish line in the midterms, that has nothing to do with podcasters. It has nothing to do with accelerationists, and it has everything to do with President Trump and the GOP. And ultimately, that's going to be the major measuring stick as to whether or not he's successful.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much for that 5-minute opening as well. We'll jump into the 5-minute rebuttals. The timer is set for you, Andrew.
Yeah, so
I gotta give it, and the rebuttals, I'm giving it to Owen, because one, he said, you know what, I think his success should be engaged on how well the American people is doing. Andrew Wilson's argument was, oh, well, I think it should be assessed on how much shit he started and how much stuff he got going. And I'm gonna have to go with him. Be real, I care more about like his policies and the effect that it has on the American people and affordability and do they feel like their country's going in the right direction? I care more about that than all the nice little things he started. I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
This is just straight time, right?
You said straight time?
Yeah, so 5 minutes each?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go through a bunch of this stuff. Let's start with the economy. He seems to be pretty upset about the economy and says that it's all Trump's fault. In some ways, he's correct, and in many ways, he's not correct. So progressives warned us of this, right? Progressives said, if you cut all this immigration, GDP go down. Why? Because they have an influx of cheap labor, right? You have cheap labor that comes in that artificially keeps the wages depressed for corporations. They can then sell you things and goods for cheaper. Pretty simple, right? So what does Trump do? Stops all this mass migration. Prices go up. I'm stunned. We were forewarned of this for years by the opposite side, by progressives. And so what's hilarious about this is that, yeah, it is in fact going to be the case that if American companies have to start paying fair wages to American citizens,
Fair point.
prices are going to go up.
Fair point.
But you can't have your cake and eat it too, Owen. You can't.
I mean, that's a really fair point. He's like, yo, if you guys want to get all these illegals out of here. And I mean, because most of the illegals are gone, I mean, now these guys ain't paying nobody $8 an hour while they're paying Americans like, I don't know, $15, $20 an hour. They don't got nobody that they can like, lowball. So now prices are going to rise because, well, everybody's getting paid like an American, not like an undocumented immigrant. So I get what he's saying. He's pretty much saying, well, all that cheap labor is the reason why some of these prices were low. And to be honest with you, if that's the case, then, I mean, you got to make a choice. Do you want higher prices or do you want to keep low prices at the, cost of exploiting undocumented immigrants? I mean, that's up to you.
Say, I want there to be no
Really good
mass
point.
migration to the United States at all, and I want all my goods and services cheap. It's not going to work that way.
Oh, guys, make sure to support the show with any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements through a super chat, or you can send a gift, or you can go ahead and send a Venmo. But let's make sure we're supporting the show, guys. And if you can't, well, double tap that screen and like the video, guys. And let's go ahead and push the channel. Appreciate the support. Let's keep it going.
How can it? Can you explain to the audience what the Owen Shroyer policy would be to offset that? No, you can't, because you wouldn't have one. You're going to have to eat shit on that. One way or the other, you're going to have to. The other problem is, he says there's a war on the other side of the planet. That's true. There is. It's been going on for about 7 weeks. That's about it. 7 weeks.
So not
That's
47
our big,
years.
hang on, it's my rebuttal time. I won't interrupt yours, I promise. 7 weeks, not quite the forever war that we were promised from the other side. And it seems to be ramping down. Not only that, when it comes to that war, what we find is that most of the exports in oil are going from China. They're going to China. How does it not behoove the United States strategically to do something about that? Of course it does. And we can dive into that too in the open back and forth. Now, I'm not a big supporter of foreign wars, especially not in Iran. I'm not making any excuses for it. I'm just pointing out something which is obvious. He also says Elon Musk did Doge cuts. Were Democrats going to do Doge cuts? No. Trump made that promise, and that's exactly what they tried to do. He's been hamstrung at every level. This guy has 3 times the amount of court cases against him as any other president does in the last 50 years. It's ridiculous. Democrats hamstring him at every corner. So as we go through this, let's talk about Epstein. That's another big one. With Epstein, you have to separate mythology, the actual mythology of Epstein, from the facts of Epstein. To hear the other side tell it, there is a global pedophilic satanic organization which runs the United States. The evidence they have for that, fucking nothing. They have nothing. They have no evidence whatsoever. Guarantee you he won't be able to provide us with any evidence for that. Not a single shred. Not only that, I'll tell you something really.
Well, it's the fact that it intertwines with a whole lot of intelligence agencies. That's why people say it's like a worldwide pedophilia ring, because you have billionaires from different parts of the world that are engaging in this, from the Middle East to Europe and in America. That's why it's a worldwide thing, because it is proven in the Epstein files that there are people in different countries that was involved in this. Like, damn, Andrew Wilson, just say you don't know.
Interesting. I do know of a satanic type religion of pedophiles, and right this second, Trump's blowing them up. Right this second, as we speak,
Wow, I do forgot. He does have like the craziest rhetoric towards Muslims. He says satanic pedophiles and he's blowing them up. So this is what I'm saying, bro. This is why I say that, bro. He makes Christians look bad. You're literally calling an entire country a bunch of satanic pedophiles. Are you fucking serious, dude? And you don't understand how this type of language promotes war in the Middle East. And you're a Christian saying this. This is what I'm saying, bro. Guys like him make Christianity look bad.
Blew up their leadership. The Ayatollah Khomeini instituted child marriage, as young as 9 years old inside of Iran.
No, he didn't. Now you're just lying. No, actually, he didn't. Ayatollah Khomeini actually, well, let's be real. I mean, he got married at 25 to a 15-year-old girl, 10 years apart. And no, that was like an arranged marriage. Actually, no, child marriage is not permissible in Iran. So you don't even know what you're talking about, actually. And he has Iran confused for Afghanistan. Like, this is what I hate about these like Islam haters. And like, trust me, I'm not a Muslim, but it irritates me how egregiously they lie against these people. He don't know anything about Iran if you're saying something that stupid. Like, to be real with you. And you can actually look this up. Look up the average age of marriage in Iran. It's going to tell you 21 to 24. So what are you talking about?
Killing them, overwhelming. You want to talk about pedophiles? Let's talk about pedophiles. Where are they at? I can tell you who we're blowing up right now who are pedophiles. That would be Trump blowing up pedophiles.
Wow.
That's what he's doing currently. So it's really funny to me, the Epstein people, hey, wait a second, we're totally anti-pedophile. This is ridiculous. There's pedophiles at the top levels. They have no evidence for that. And yet, if we just look not too far away, we see that there's an entire nation of pedophiles. Do you mind doing trade with them?
Bruh, this is crazy. He's like, yo, this is why I just can't listen to this guy when he bakes about Islam, because he does it in such a like dishonest, well, not even dishonest, just uninformed way. You could tell he literally has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to that subject. He, like I said, calling an entire country a bunch of pedophiles because of their religion. Are you serious? Like, if I said that about Christians and Catholics, you would lose your fucking mind. He'd be like, oh, well, where can you point to? Early in American history where there was Christians or in like Christian communities that was marrying very young. Yes, 20-year-olds marrying like girls that were 10. Yeah, that was going on in Christian communities back in the day. So I'm sorry, but to sit there and like not bring that up as well, it kind of shows that you have an agenda to push hatred of Muslims. I just can't agree with that. I don't agree with anybody pushing hatred. And me and him agree on a lot of things, just not this.
Whoop, right? Owen Shroyer recently said, I don't care why, or he said in his debate with Shabos, why is it that Iran is not allowed to have a nuke, but Israel is? What are you advocating for there? That a whole country full of pedophiles is allowed to have a nuclear bomb? Why should we?
Are you serious? Like, bro, this is crazy how he's pointing this off. And I could tell even Owen Shroyer's Mac, he's like, yo, you're literally calling people, an entire country of people, pedophiles. When Israel's known for raping, kids in their jails. So I'm sorry, but if you want to talk about pedophiles, Israel actually takes in pedophiles. Pedophiles that commit crime in America, they run off to Israel. So what are you saying, dude?
Allow that? It's ridiculous.
Actually, no, look this up. Look this up. Israeli guy gets caught up in pedophile sting and is now and runs off to Israel. And an AG, an American attorney general, let him do it. So what do you guys say about that if we want to talk about pedophiles?
Moving through some of these other problems, he says the problems Republicans podcasting means nothing. When we're talking about Trump, especially in his second term, podcast meant everything. In fact, Kamala Harris said it herself. Joe Rogan. And the fact that Trump went on Joe Rogan really helped push him over the top. Harris regretted the fact she didn't do the syndicated radio shows. He didn't do the podcast circuit. She didn't do any of that. She regretted it. She said that she regretted it. She even blamed Myron Gaines, a podcaster, for parts.
So let me show you guys something since y'all want to be lied to. As of 2024 through 2025, the average age of marriage in Iran has risen to approximately 29.5 to 30 for men and around 29 for women. So, guys, I mean, full of pedophiles? full of pedophiles, right? But the average age for men is 29 to 30, which is my age. And for women, it's around 25. And child marriage still occur with 70% of girls marrying before 18, and with over 27,000 girls marrying under 15 in 2021 and 2022. But he says that they're mostly pedophiles. And here's the thing, guys. I mean, isn't there girls that are 17 years? Isn't there girls that are married before 18 in our country? I'm pretty sure we got a lot more than them. 20, and there are girls that are 20 that are married before 15 in America going on today. Yes, actually, yes, we do. If you don't know. So why do you guys believe this lie when you can easily look this up? Like, what is the average age of marriage in Iran? Because according to Andrew Wilson, you would expect it to be from what, 15 to 18, or actually, according to him, 10 to 12. According to him, you're supposed to believe that the average age of Iran is basically what, 10 to 12. That's the average age, since they're a bunch of pedophiles, right? Right? Okay, then. But the average age, which means majority of women are getting married at 25. Majority of men, 29 to 30. But he's calling this entire country a bunch of pedophiles? And none of y'all see where that's wrong.
Of her loss. She blamed him and the evil manosphere, because they don't want women to be president, like somebody else who's on stage right now. So as we go through this, I'm kind of happy. I'd like to get into the back and forth as quick as we can so that we can see if any of these criticisms actually hold muster. He says he's not addressing corruption. Yeah, he's not addressing corruption head on. It's like, wait a second. What do you mean? He's going after the SPLC right this second. As we speak, super corrupt organization, which was working with the deep state.
Well, then let me show you guys something, since you want to say something about 12. Yes, it is legally possible for a 12-year-old to get married in California, and there is no minimum age requirement. However, this requires both parental consent and court order. You know, so funny? They do the same thing in Iran. Parental consent gotta be okayed by both parties, or it ain't going down. So yeah, like I said, we do a lot of judging, but I mean, are we looking at ourselves first before we sit there and judge? I'm just saying, are we?
State, by the way, just pointing that out.
With that, we'll kick it over to Owen for his 5-minute rebuttal as well. Floor is all yours, Owen.
All right. Well, as far as when this war started, obviously there's a lot of contention in the geopolitical debate realm, but at least for this administration, it started last June with Operation Midnight Hammer. And since then, we haven't gotten a lick of honesty, because we were supposed to have annihilated, or obliterated was the official word from the president, their nuclear capabilities. And then they came back a few months later and said Iran was weeks away, days away from a nuke. And so now we're over there again. And I think to most people, they perceive this war, I think accurately, as just another regime change war. Now, you may not care for Iran's leadership. You're not going to get any pushback from me on any of that. And yet the facts remain. This was a regime change war. They lied to us about it from the very beginning. There is a major contingency of Trump's voting base that voted for no new wars. It was part of the campaign promise. In fact, Trump himself, for decades, has been talking about how we've wasted blood and treasure in the Middle East, wasted it, his own words. He ran against Bush's wars in his first campaign in 2015 and 2016. And he even said specifically, no more regime change wars. So that's just a total reversal of policy on that. And this has people wondering who's making these decisions. I don't need to get into that now, but we're not even getting consistency on the messaging in the last couple of weeks. The strait is closed. It's not closed. We've won the war. The war is not over. We need to go in. Nobody really knows. And by the way, I think Trump does that strategically, but nonetheless, the truth is that we don't get any honesty from this administration.
Hey, you know what somebody said? Somebody said Christians don't have children. What was it? Child marriages. I mean, actually, when we talk about child marriages, y'all are the main group doing it. Sorry, guys. But when we talk about child marriages in America, it is mostly Christians that are doing it. Like, let's just keep it real, guys. Yes, child marriages in the U.S. involving minors under 18 is often linked to conservative, traditional, and religious contexts, including certain Christian communities, particularly in rural areas like the Bible Belt. Roughly 300,000 minors were married in the U.S. between 2000 and 2018, often driven by a cultural desire to prevent premarital sex, address pregnancy, and enforce gender roles, which most cases involving girls marrying adult men. And where the Bible Belt, by who? Mostly Christians. And this ain't me coming at Christians. I'm just saying, who are y'all to judge Muslims at the end of the day? I love y'all both. I love the Muslims. I love the Christians both. But who the hell are y'all to judge each other? I mean, one want to talk about the Muslims. Oh, they went around killing people and doing forced conversions. Well, what the hell you call a crusade then? Y'all did the same damn thing. Like, please don't act like innocent angels. Like, good Lord. But all right, though, let's get back to our guys over here.
Just doesn't add up. And as far as the strategy with China and Russia, I'd like to think that this is all going to work out in our favor. I'd like to think that that's the play that Trump is making. However, it doesn't appear to be going in our favor. I think that most of the world is looking at the foreign policy of this administration, and they're seeing it as very, very favorable to Israel, which is essentially a pariah of the entire international community. And so instead of perhaps these countries maybe driving away from Russia and China, I think they're driving to China and Russia and away from the United States because of Trump's aggression, again, in the Middle East, as the world views it, on behalf of Israel. As far as the Dems, hamstringing Trump, I think that happened a lot in the first administration. I'm not really seeing as much of it.
I'm not even gonna lie, me too. I didn't expect to read that either. When I looked it up, I was like, whoa, 300,000? Like, huh? Yeah, bro. Shout out Jay Texas. He's like, I didn't expect that. I mean, bro, me either. I kind of looked that one up off the cuff.
In this administration, but this gets back to the deep state. I thought we were talking about criminals. I thought we were talking about the Obama administration committing treason. We were talking about them illegally spying. And yet now President Trump says, I'm okay to give up my liberties for safety. I'm okay with them illegally spying on you. That doesn't really sit well with me. And I think the Dems are going to look at that very favorably when we get to the midterms. Israel does have a nuke. It is it's a violation of the nuclear proliferation agreement. They're not supposed to have one. Everybody knows they have it. In fact, technically, they shouldn't even be our ally because they have a nuclear weapon, but somehow they're above all of these rules. Now, again, I'm not here to take any ground in defense of Iran, but I will point out the fact that Israel is famous for repatriating pedophiles. That is a fact. Everybody knows it. American pedophiles.
Yep. American Israeli pedophiles or Jewish pedophiles can run off to Israel if they get caught. We all know this.
American pedophiles are able to flee to Israel and get safe harbor there. We have many instances of this. Now, the Epstein files.
Jewish American, not just any American, Jewish American, Israeli American, that matters. Just not any American can do that.
I don't know how deep we want to go into this. This one is a little confusing to me. You say, show me evidence that there is a pedophile ring. Well, I would slap down on the table, not even 50% of the Epstein files. We don't even know how many we've gotten, but it's 50% max. There's not a single Iranian in the files, not a single one. Now, there is a certain group of people that are in there, but we don't need to get into that. But they all are rich, and they're not in prison, and that's where they should be. So I don't really want to have to think about Iran's cultural issues. These are Americans and people that were using them for blackmail to get leverage over our country. That's how most people perceive these Epstein files, of which we don't even have the entire files. But in them, we see references, what appear to be killing people, taking women, young women, babies as sex slaves. Who knows what else is going on in these files? There's very obvious code language. I know this. If I was able to get one of my kids' cell phones and I'm reading through this cell phone and they keep talking about pizza and grape soda and jerky, I'm going to pull one of them aside and I'm going to say, hey, what are you talking about? And if they say, oh, I'm just a pizza connoisseur. Me and my friends just make beef jerky and eat grape soda. I'm going to say, bullshit. Tell me what the hell you're talking about. If I see you saying, I'm going to get pot from my friend, I know you're not talking about a potted plant. I know you're talking about drugs. So it's obvious the same thing is going on in these emails. Where is the investigation? If your kid brought that to you, You would not believe them for 1 second. You'd say this is clearly.
Oh, guys, make sure to support the stream by sending in a super chat. Appreciate the support, or a Venmo or a gift. Appreciate the support, guys. But let's make sure we're supporting the stream. And if you can't, make sure to double tap that screen and push and like the video. Sorry, guys, getting a bit tired.
Code language, and I'm going to investigate what it is. I think we should continue to investigate these Epstein files instead of continuing to cover them up, because I do think there is a there, as most other Americans do, and that's something that Trump campaigned on and many of his administration talked about for years.
With that, we're going to jump into the crossfire. This is 40 minutes, so this is fully up to you guys. If it gets too rocky, I'm going to jump in and put it into 90-second responses. So the floor is yours, gentlemen, for open dialogue.
So I wanted to start, if we could, with Israeli repatriation of pedophiles. So you and I both agree that this happens and it's abhorrent. Do you know that what the numbers are, roughly?
The last story I read was a CBS story. It was a couple dozen, I think.
I think total that I could find, I was being as charitable to your view as I could, it's about 200. That's a lot. It's a significant amount. But it's nothing in comparison to the Catholic Church. Nothing. Which is somewhere around 100,000 children, perhaps, or more. When we talk about this idea of pedophilia here in the United States, Owen, this is my big issue with this, is that there's always a red herring, right? The red herring is, well, Israel repatriates pedophiles. It's like, yeah, that's true. So does the United States in a way, though. We have passport bros who they go to Malaysia, they have sex with underage kids, and then they come back here. It's the same exact principle applied. The only difference is there's no official right of return.
Yeah, but we should arrest those dudes too. If we knew they were doing that, we would arrest them. Thing is, we don't.
There doesn't need to be. They're already U.S.
Something like that ain't illegal. I'll be real with you. If they go out the country to commit pedophilia, bro, we find out they do that and they come back here, I'll be real with you. I want that man in jail.
Citizens. But when we're talking about this, we know where the groups of pedophiles are. We've known this for years. The Catholic Church, for instance, again, part of one of the largest pedophilic scandals in the world. Which church do you belong to again? Is it Catholic?
I have no qualms with what you're saying about the Catholic Church, whether I identify as one or not. So go ahead. I will sit here all day as a confirmed Catholic and ridicule their pedophilia.
Yeah, I'm just saying that when you use the red herring of the Israeli repatriation.
How is it a red herring if it's true?
Because the red herring happens when
Didn't you admit it's hundreds?
When you say, hey, wait a second. Yeah, hundreds.
So it's a real thing. So it's not a red herring.
No, the red herring portion of it is when you obfuscate away from the argument on the Epstein files, as though there's a global cabal of pedophiles. I point out in Iran, there's an open cabal of pedophiles. You say, well,
no, yeah, here's the problem. You have no proof that there's an open cabal of pedophile in Iran, but they're Muslim. That's fucking ridiculous, dude. Hold on. So you don't believe the Epstein files that has the names of business owners who was helping Jeffrey Epstein traffic children. You don't believe that, but you're going off Iran as a cabal of pedophiles because they're Muslim? Bro, what? Like, one, that's like, yo, that's low-key hateful as hell. You're just pretty much saying, no, it's a cabal of pedophiles. You have no proof of this at all whatsoever. You're just saying this because they're Muslim. But you got the Epstein files as literally proof right there in front of you, and you're saying, no, I don't see that. Why? I guess because they're not Muslim, right? I guess because they're not Muslim. I guess he can only see pedophilia when Muslims do it.
It's like, no, they don't have official policy for pedophilia, dude.
Hold on a second. You just admitted you're talking about people that have been actually charged with crimes of pedophilia that Israel knowingly takes in. They are very well aware.
That's not in every instance. That's
they are very well aware.
Sometimes it's a suspected, one of the big key ones.
And I believe I already debunked this already. So do you know what the average age of marriage is in Iran, guys? And I'm talking to the people who just got in here. What's the average age of marriage in Iran? Because according to you guys who think that they marry children all the time, this is a pedophilic cabal. It should do it. The average age of women should be what, like 14, 12? Like, it should be that, right? It's 25, I believe. Like, yeah, guys, it's 25. So what are you talking about? That's what I'm saying. A lot of you guys don't know anything. You just listen to these guys taking it for truth. And you can easily go